yesterday, big day yesterday, the Georgia Senate absolutely weaseled out and didn't go with the special session that they were legally in a position to do in order to simply keep it within the boundaries of the presidential elections. It was within their constitutional right. The president, for a special session in Georgia to fix what happened on November 3rd for January 5th or beyond, the president needed 29 out of 34 Republican votes. Let me say that again. He needed 29 out of 34 Republican votes in the Senate. In the House, he needed 91. This is in Georgia, 91 of 106. 2 days ago, he called the Speaker of the House, David Ralston. Ralston assured the president, we understand, that he would be able to deliver 91 votes in the House for the special session. The Senate needed just 29. They got 12 votes. They got 12 out of 34 Republicans back this president with a special session, signing the petition or willing to sign it, that was presented by Brandon Beach, Bill Ligon, Senator Dozel from Cumming, and Senator Burt Jones. They got 12. Then the state Senate put out what I'm going to call one of the most feckless, disingenuous, lying statements I've ever seen in my life following politics. They basically blew off the whole special session. Our callers that were calling their state senators were told that, well, it was meaningless because they couldn't get to 3/5. But they didn't need to get to 3/5. They needed to get to 50% plus one. That's in the Georgia Constitution. That is right there in the Constitution. And they couldn't do it. So they were telling their constituents they had to get to 3/5. This is a complete lie. This is a red herring. Then they were saying they didn't have enough time. Well, the president had enough time to pick up the phone and call David Ralston. David Ralston, the speaker, changed his position and said if the Senate can get 29, I can get you 91. But they never got there. Because in the meeting in Athens yesterday in their retreat, I'm told, they couldn't get over 12 votes. This is unthinkable. And the reason they give is they couldn't get to 3/5 and it wouldn't matter anyway. That was their reason. Then they put a statement out. Let me read you this part of the statement. Our state constitution, this comes from the Georgia State Senate. Our state constitution precludes us from calling a special session due to the lack of a 3/5 majority in both chambers. This is a complete lie. They don't need 3/5 to do a special session that is simply targeted around the presidential election. So that is a lie. So they put out a statement and lied to their constituents. They go on to say, as constitutionalists, we must respect that. What? Respect the lie? Because that's what it is. You don't need that. You need 29 votes. You need 50% plus one to convene a special session. That is in the United States Constitution. Then they go on to say, however, an avenue to move this matter even quicker than special session now exists and is pending before the United States Supreme Court. As the upper chamber of the General Assembly and consistent with our prerogatives for legislative oversight, we're calling upon election officials to engage the GBI to investigate any and all fraud. Basically, they kick the can to somebody else. They don't want to get directly involved. These are your leaders. These are your leaders that don't want to get directly involved. So they do nothing. It's absolutely mind-boggling to me. And then they go on, we will continue to conduct public hearings up to and through January 5th to ensure that fraud and misconduct do not taint the next election. Well, the hearings don't do anything without the special session to change the laws to impact January the 5th. Otherwise, you're going to have the same thing. They think you are really stupid. I mean, that's all I can say. They think you are really dumb. They just think voters are stupid. I guess that they can't figure this out. I don't know how you go forward with this. They insist that we insist all counties immediately preserve all data from the November 3rd general election in order to conduct a forensic audit. We insist. What does that mean? You have no law. You don't have a special session in order to put it into law. Then they said, we will continue to conduct public hearings. Okay. Then they say, as soon as we may constitutionally convene, we'll pass legislation to reverse the detrimental effects of the consent decree, which was entered in March 2020. So basically, they're not going to do anything until they convene in January, which is after the January 5th runoff. And basically, after everything is done, that's when they're going to try to change a law that shouldn't be a law, that was unconstitutional and unlawful. And rather than change it now to impact January 5th, they put the statement out, which is a red herring, saying, oh, we're going to fix it on when we convene in January. Fix what? If you're going to fix it, why don't you fix it now? And you have the constitutional authority to do that. That was their message. Now, we understand that the leadership in the Georgia Senate, majority leader, majority whip, wanted nothing to do with this. It's just time. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, I've been here for 5 weeks. And this petition that Brandon Beach, Bill Ligon, Senator Dalzell, and Burt Jones did, this petition was bold. This petition was courageous. This petition basically said, let's do our job. Let's, under the Constitution, let's convene and let's do our job. And so instead, this is what we get. We get a press release. We get a press statement. No action. We get a press release saying they might take action sometime in the future. Sometime in the future, they might take action. That's what you get. And then Perdue and Loeffler put a statement out saying, we support every lawful legal effort. Yet when they had an opportunity to weigh in, they did nothing. Now they put a statement out after it's over. It's these are your leaders in Georgia. These are your Senate leaders. This was the most cowardly act of disengagement and disregard for voters that I've ever seen. And I've been here for 5 weeks traveling the state, and the outrage is unbelievable. And this is what you get. You get your Senate majority in Georgia basically saying, we're not going to do the special session. We're not going to convene in order to fix the wrongs that happened on November 3rd so that doesn't happen again in January. We're not going to do that. We're going to kick the can down the road. We're going to turn it over to the GBI, which is a complete waste of time, and everybody knows it. They put out weaselly words and do nothing. They just want this to go away. And I can tell you, I talked to the 4 ringleaders. I talked to 3 of the 4 last night, and they were beside themselves. Every one of these senators that are in leadership, majority leader, majority whip, that let this die and then put this sniveling statement out should be primaried. Because at the end of the day, they don't care what you think. They care what they think. I mean, we have gone around this state for 5 weeks. I've had thousands and thousands of people tell me that they want this changed. They had an opportunity to change it and did absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And then to put the statement out, this is pathetic. This is not only intellectually disingenuous, and it's a lie, because they didn't need 3/5. That's their talking points. It's cowardly, and it is absolutely pathetic. And these are your state Senate leaders in Georgia. I'm beside myself that they could only muster 12 votes. 12 votes. They have 34 Republicans. They got 12 signatures. 12. That means that 22 wouldn't touch it. 22 of the 34. They got 12. Pathetic. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, it's just not Georgia. It's all of these Romney Republicans across the country that get elected, and then in the time that we needed them the most to stand for something and have your back, they kicked you in the teeth for their own gain. Now, I'm sure you've got state senators in there that were sympathetic to this. I'm sure they were afraid. They were leveraged. They were threatened Like maybe they wouldn't get that chairmanship. Maybe they wouldn't get that coveted spot on some committee that they want. Maybe they wouldn't get this perk or that perk from leadership. So what they got was kicking you in the teeth. Because the people of Georgia, the Republicans of Georgia, have absolutely demanded action. They got nothing. They got a cowardly stall and a feckless press release. That is a lie. I mean, I'm going to go back to what they said again. Our state constitution, they put this right in their press release. Our state constitution precludes us from calling a special session due to the lack of 3/5 majority in both chambers. They think you're really stupid. That was what they were telling our listeners who are calling them up. Well, it doesn't matter. We can't get to 3/5, so it's a waste of time. Oh, there isn't enough time to do anything. Oh, it's coming up on January 5th. They could have had that special session, and they could have demanded that Brian Kemp, the governor, postpone the election till February 1st if they didn't have enough time. But nobody said they didn't have enough time. The objective of this special session, they could, as it related to the presidential election, they had two objectives. Number one, under the Constitution of the United States, they could have three outcomes. Only three with the presidential electors. They keep it like it is, they give the electors to Trump, or they don't give the electors to anybody. Those were their three options if they convened. The other thing Beach and Jones wanted to do was get rid of that consent decree so the signatures had to match. And you can easily do that. You can do that with a law right now that throws it out and says when the votes come in on January 5th, the signatures in the envelopes have to match what is in the record. And if they don't match, they get thrown out like they've always been for 50 years. Now all of a sudden they don't need to get thrown out. So after saying nothing, then we get a statement, joint statement from the Perdue and Loeffler campaign. So they put a joint statement out yesterday after this press release. And basically their joint statement says, we stand with pursuing every legal opportunity. I mean, where were they yesterday? Where were they 2 days ago? Where were they at the rally? Where were they 3 days ago? Nowhere. Now they want your vote. They're petrified they're going to lose. Their campaigns are dreadful. They haven't stood with the people. And then they put a press release out after there's no special session and say, we stand with the president in pursuing every legal matter. Where were they yesterday, 2 days ago, Sunday, Saturday at the rally? Nowhere to be found on this issue. John Fredericks Radio Network. Let's get to Sean in Newport News. Sean, you're live.
Hey, John, the Democrat machine is just laughing their butts off right now, and you know what? They should be. This is pathetic. You know, the fraud, the lawlessness, the breaking of states of their own laws, unconstitutional acts. It is so massive, yet when it comes push to shove, Republicans do their job. They back down. Why? You're exposing it. You've been out there. I've been listening to all the interviews with the different senators and the Republican congressmen. You know, the first one I heard, when you first put them on air and everyone started blasting them, these guys were initially afraid to call a special session in order to check signatures due to fear that the Democrats will come out and cry voter suppression. Okay? Then now they're claiming they're afraid to have another session because they're afraid of Antifa and BLM coming out and burning down Atlanta and blaming the Republicans. You know what, John? They're not afraid of us. That's the problem. They're not afraid of their own constituents. And I'm trying to go through my brain. What should we do? Are we supposed to riot? Is that what we're supposed to do? Are we supposed to march down to major cities and start lighting them on fire? I'm obviously not suggesting that, but the point is it's working on the other side. What should we be doing, John?
The only thing they understand is a primary. You should primary them all. I'm going to go back to Bob and LJ. By the way, I decided to go to LJ on Friday. That's going to be my final stop in this tour. I'm going to go back where I started with that phone call from Bob, who said, "You know what? I'm sitting here in the mountains. I got a computer. I got a piece of paper. I'm writing y'all's names down, and we're going to primary all y'all." I mean, I'm telling you, listen to what I'm saying, and you nailed it. The Republicans here in Georgia are more afraid of CNN, the AJC, Eric Erickson, WSB, and Democrats and Antifa than they are their own voters because they take you for granted. They take you for granted. And so the only thing they're going to understand is a primary election. First thing should happen, as I told them this last night, Beach should run for governor against Kemp. That should be number one. Ginger Howard should run for Secretary of State against Raffensperger. Somebody should run against Jeff Duncan. And then all of these guys, Butch Miller, primary him. These guys sold you out. And then they put out a statement and lied to you. How do you put a statement out and lie? And they just think you're stupid. Oh, we're going to turn it over to GBI. Yeah, that and 50 cents will buy you a cup of coffee at the Exxon station, or $1 or however much it is. And then the statement that Perdue and Loeffler put out. We fully support President Trump's legal recourses and Attorney General Paxton's lawsuit. The president has every right to use every legal recourse available to guarantee these simple principles. Every lawful vote cast should be counted, blah, blah, blah. Where were you 2 days ago? Where were you demanding that the state senators convene? Where were you 3 days ago? Where were you Saturday in Valdosta? Nowhere. Then when it's squashed, then they put a statement out. Also, not particularly courageous. Unbelievable. Sean, thank you. I'm just beside myself. As everybody should be. Sean, thank you. Let's get to Rich in Virginia Beach. Rich, you're live. Line 2.
John.
Yeah.
Okay. We got to be smart about this as Republican voters. We need to weaponize our vote. The Republicans can move this back to February 1st, or they can call a special session. They have the power. So what I'm saying is we need to weaponize the vote. We need to not vote for these clowns, Perdue and Loeffler, until they back it up to February 1st. We need to focus on the presidential. That's more important than the Senate. If you back it up to February 1st, we can focus on the presidential and worry about that later. And so this is what we need to demand. You either back it up to February 1st or you have a special session, or we're not going to come out and vote, because Perdue and Loeffler, they're not fighting for Trump. And this is, what do you think about that? I mean, we got to weaponize our vote. I mean, we have to.
Well, look, I'm not going to go there, but I think I talked to two people yesterday, two voters. One of them just called me, just was so upset, and I'm going to read the email that she sent in a minute. I'm going to read you that, but I also talked to my wife, and we spent 25 years in Georgia. We spent a quarter century here, and lost our business in 2010 and had to, get a new start in Virginia. Things have worked out. Hard work pays off. But all I can say is she told me last night that she was embarrassed for her former state, and she said, I would vote for Loeffler only because I want to stop Warnock, but she's like, I wouldn't vote for Perdue. I would just skip over it. The hell with him. I mean, and she's much more conservative than I am. I mean, my wife, Ann, the Fräulein, she's never voted for a Democrat ever. She's very conservative. And she's like, the hell with them. That's the problem. When you got people like that saying, I wouldn't vote for Perdue because he doesn't stand with us, that's the problem, man. That's why they're going to lose. And, people say, oh, John, you shouldn't be saying that. I'm telling you what the voters are saying. See, they don't even want me here giving an outlet. They don't want the person from Dublin who called up on the first day and said, oh, my God, thank you. I'm silent no more. They want them to be silent so they can push out a statement and lie to their own constituents, saying they need 3/5. Rich in Virginia Beach, thank you. Line 2, let's get to Scott in Richmond. Scott, you're live.
Hey, John, long time no talk.
Thank you, Scott.
Hey, I think you, me, and the other conservative voters, I think we care more about it than they do, than Loeffler and Perdue and the rest of the establishment GOP. I think we care more about our country than they do. So, I have a rule with my kids and their homework. I'm not going to work harder than you are for your homework, So I guess the reason why we care more is it's our country. But, you know, John, I don't know how you do it personally, because if I were you, I'd be packing up and coming back home. Screw Georgia. I mean, they're treating you like crap. They don't want you there, you know. And now they stab us all in the back with this capitulation. So, you know, it's so frustrating being a lifelong conservative because frankly I'm getting used to being disappointed. It's like growing up when I was a Packers fan in the 70s and 80s, and it took forever for them to get a winning season. You know, or like a Cubs fan before they won the World Series, for crying out loud. It's like you just get used to being treated like dirt. I had to censor myself there, John, because that's the state of the establishment GOP. And now that we have a guy like Trump, you would think that they would have learned that, hey, if we just grow a backbone, grow a pair, stand up to the Democrats, stand up to the media, hey, we'll get stuff done that we've been grousing about for our entire lives. But that's all I got.
Well, Scott, they not only didn't learn anything from President Trump, they want him to go away. See, if you really get to the bottom of this, Trump's changed the game. Trump's a man of action. Trump actually followed through on his promises. Trump actually cuts through the bureaucracy and gets things done. Trump's a fighter. And so Trump's very presence is threatening to people like Senate pro tempore Butch Miller and Majority Leader Mike Dugan, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, Brian Kemp, who wouldn't be there without him, and Lieutenant Governor Cosmo Man Jeff Duncan with the hair in the suit. Empty suit, by the way. Empty suit. Based on his actions. Don't know the man personally, but based on his actions, empty suit. So actually, they want Trump to go away. The statement they put out is a lie. And the AJC will run it. Eric Erickson will say it's great. Look what they're doing. They're going to fix it in January something. And they're going to turn it over to GBI. And it's all good. And I'm telling you, they lied to you. Because you don't need 3/5. And that was the first paragraph. And that's what they were telling our callers who were calling them. When I get back, I'm going to read you an email. Well, let me get to Scott. Scott, line 2. Steve in Niagara Falls. Steve, you're live. Line 2.
Good morning. I go back to 1975 in politics. I was 10 years old, and I remember Reagan losing the nomination to Ford, and there was a lot of controversy. And you're 10 years old, and you realize, wow, this is how the game is. Mm-hmm. And then you come to 2020, and the word that comes in my mind, and it has to cross a lot of people's mind, is either bought off or compromised. Because when you see something wrong, and it's clearly wrong, and you know what the right thing is to do, and you refuse to do it, that's not a decision made on any moral compass. That decision's made for selfishness, or bought off, or you did something you ought not to be doing. And irregardless how this election turns out, and I'm very hopeful the president will survive this, there better be an investigation, and I think most importantly from the voters, and I think the people of Georgia are wonderful, they're fighting in New York State. If anything, I'm embarrassed for my governor, or Governor Cuomo, but I think these people have to have the heat put on them. What made them say no when clearly the right thing was to do to get involved and rectify this problem?
Fear. They said no out of fear. They don't want to be doxxed. They don't want to be written up in the AJC. They don't want CNN to say bad things about them. They don't want the Democrats to say bad things. Fear. And a complete disdain for their voters. Butch Miller, Mike Dugan, Jeff Duncan, And all of the other senators that wouldn't sign on to this and lied to their constituents and said, well, it's 3/5.